All right, welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am here to talk about part 2 of the James Krause saga. Shit has hit the fan. Krause is still being investigated, thoroughly investigated. I don't know if it was a legit or not, but I read on a karate forum that his laptop was confiscated by the FBI. But still, regardless, the shit that I do know for sure is that Canadian provinces, Alberta and Ontario, are no longer taking bets on the UFC, which is gigantic. That's shitty for a lot of MMA fans up there in Canada. And the UFC has distanced themselves from Krause, and they want to disassociate with him altogether, meaning anybody that is associated with him is no longer allowed. So you've got plenty of fighters in tough spots. Tim Elliott, Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno's got a fight coming up in a month and a half for the world title. The 17th fight between he and Davison Figueiredo. They're 8-8 against each other, and this is for all the marbles. And he's got to, in the middle of camp, disassociate from Krause, which, whatever that means. I think he's got to change camps. Or they have Krause come in the Groucho Marx outfit, and I don't know, try to pull one over on the UFC. But either way, it's shitty for a lot of fighters in the UFC, and also for the UFC itself and MMA. That's why I'm glad the UFC is disassociating with Krause. This is a matter of integrity, and he's really made the sport look shitty, let alone the organization itself, which, is much more direct with the UFC. And the UFC, they are looking out for themselves. This is a company decision, but still, whether they want to or not, they're acting and thinking on behalf of the sport. I still think on behalf of the sport. I want MMA to look good. I don't necessarily want everybody to be an MMA fan, kind of like the niche thing we had going for a while, but I still want it to be accepted with open arms by the masses. And instead, it looks kind of like a scumbag thing going on here. I imagine being removed from the UFC a few degrees, just, barely knowing what it is and hearing that there was some fixed fight. I'd go, yeah, that makes sense. With the elbows and whatever. It'd be like telling me that some monster truck driver got out at the middle of a monster truck rally and took a shit in the middle of public like some fucking grungy animal. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. The monster truck, right? So it's embarrassing. I want the sport to look good. And I want the UFC to look good. As I sit here like a UFC shill in my Reebok outfit. Yeah, that's right. I wear the merch. I am a shill. And I want them to fucking look good. And they don't look good. This doesn't look good. So I'm glad they're treating Krause like a cancer and removing the cancer. Because it's fucked up. I mean, this is a guy that, was the toast of the town just 2 years ago or whatever. His last fight when he fought Trevin Giles on a day's notice. And that was maybe, even though he lost, it was a split decision, I think. But it was his finest moment, in the sport. And since then, he's gained notoriety, or I should say, fame as a coach and whatever. And everything was going well for him. But Krause, he had to be that, douchebag. He reminds me of Ellis from Die Hard. The fast-talking, coke-snorting fucking salesman. And that's what Krause would act like Mr. Big Shot, anytime he was talking about how much money he made gambling on MMA. And that's why I said in the first video, if you would have asked me or told me that somebody was involved in an MMA betting scandal, who was it? I would say James Krause, instantly. Out of the fucking, thousands of people, hundreds, I guess, of people in the sport, thousands, I would say Krause, instantly. And sure enough, he's the one mixed involved, in the mix with all this horse shit. So, it's really shitty for Krause, to be in this spot, but, still, it's a matter of integrity, and everybody's got to distance themselves from him. If Brandon Moreno wants to fight, he's gonna have to have a different corner come fight night. Same goes for Tim Elliott and David Onama and whoever the hell else. But, you got to remove the cancer, so that's what they're doing. And as for the future, I will, I'm sure you'll be checking in. I'll be checking in to see what happens with this investigation, what they find evidence-wise. And hopefully there's some serious ramifications, criminal, because you know, I don't. It's not like I hate James Krause, even though I'm a little bitter and whatever. I'm like, you know, I mean, the guy can go to prison. He'd still be doing better than I am. So there's that kind of bitter jealousy thing going on. But I have that with everybody, really. So it's nothing personal. But he fucked around with the integrity of, you know, the UFC and MMA altogether, and he needs to be made an example of. You know, he took advantage of a lot of different people, and I'm one of them too. You know, I'm one of those jerk-offs that saw the Darrick Minner line shoot up, and I said, oh, let me pounce on that. And even though I didn't pounce on his money line, I pounced on the round one submission, which in my opinion was his only way to win. It's his only way to win most fights. But I wasted $100 there. And, you know, there are a lot of jerk-offs out there, a lot of suckers, I should say, like me, who, you know, probably doing better than I did and put a lot more money in, you know, on the line when they saw the line skyrocket, whatever line they favored. Anybody that came down on the Darrick Minner side of things when predicting that fight probably invested more money when they saw the odds skyrocket. So, you know, you're not going to hear that. You're going to hear people coming to Krause's defense and this and that and whatever. You're not going to hear the millions, if not, I guess, thousands of people that lost money on this. And again, I lost whatever. I won money because I bet on the under 2.5 rounds. But, and even that I don't feel good about because I know there was no integrity there or whatever. But still, anybody that, you know, has a story with that, you're not going to hear regular Joe Schmo that sits there supporting the UFC, buying their merch and whatever, and lost money on a fucking fixed fight, something they know was fixed. So, fuck him. You know, he's going to have to pay for this. You know, may mean prison time or whatever. Wouldn't surprise me. I have no fucking clue. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a lawyer by day. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I will let you know. And check out my other videos because I'm a bitter, jealous person. And I'll give you my bitter, jealous take on all kinds of MMA shit. So like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.